All right, so we are recording this session as usual in order to have a backup and so that others who are not able to join live can be able to view it later. Okay, so this presentation would take like between 10 to 15 minutes because I intend to keep it brief so that I will give room for other presenters or other colleagues to speak on this, their practical experience so far as regards to NEBOSH Open Book Examination. So what is NEBOSH? Everyone who is here should be able to know what is NEBOSH. NEBOSH is an we'll say is a very high-ranking health and safety, occupational health and safety awarding body. So they have a lot of courses, which one of them is NEBOSH IG General Certificate. So we'll be looking at the major strategies that we feel, if implemented, can help every student to pass this exam without much stress. But it doesn't mean that you will not read, but after you have read, then the basic things that you need to implement in order to pass very well are what we'll be discussing today. So my name is Johnson, and I'm an approved NEBOSH tutor. So I teach NEBOSH, so that is one of the areas where I got this knowledge and information that I'll be passing through today. I've been in this field of health and safety for the past 11 to 12 years. So whatever I'm telling you is not just what I read, but some of the things I've practiced. So that is why I can say I'll be able to talk about this topic very well. So let's dive into it. So strategies. By definition, strategy simply refers to where you will focus your effort to achieve that particular goal. It means that there are a lot of things to be done. There are a lot of things that can yield results. But if you focus more of your attention and more of your effort on these particular angles or these particular directions we'll be looking at today, it will help you to achieve that particular goal. What is the main goal? The main goal is to pass the NEBOSH Open Book Examination. So what is strategy? Strategy simply means specific plans and actions that you take in order to achieve that particular goal. It's specific in the sense that you have a lot of things that could come to your mind, but you have to narrow it to that particular actions that will give you the desired result. And remember, if you fail to plan, then you are giving room to fail. So don't just take it like anything, because the money you use to register that exam could do other things. But because you've registered the exam, then you have to give it all the strategies, all the plans, and all the effort required for you to pass that exam. So let's look at some of the things that you should put in place. First one is you have to set and execute the plan. You study and revise. You have your study materials. You have your textbooks. You have even the ones you can get from internet. There are a lot of study materials talking about safety, talking about health and safety management systems. So those study materials you should have studied before the exam. As the exam is approaching, by next month, first week, Wednesday, there will be an open book exam. So if you are writing the exam by next month, you should have started studying for a very long time. Should have attended the classes, shouldn't have missed any of the classes. You should have also done your assignment. So you are ready. You have studied and you are ready for the exam. The next thing you should do is to set your environment. During the exam, there are a lot of things that you might be needing that you need to put them together before the exam begins. The exam is scheduled to last for 24 hours. Okay, so within that 24 hours, you might likely be indoors. You might likely stay in a cool environment. So you need to set your environment and keep everything you need within yourself so that you won't have any need to go out. For instance, if you'll be needing generators, if you'll be needing power supply, if you need anything that you need that will be taking you out, even food. So you set your environment, put everything in place before the exam day. The next thing to do is to set and execute those action plans. You have the action plans, how to write the exam, how to approach it. You set those strategies and the plans. Then you have to avoid emergencies. Avoiding emergencies, ensuring that if you are supposed to take permission from work, then you need to make it official, ensure that nothing comes up to take your time or distract you while that examination is going on or within that particular time. Then the last thing that is very important is attending closing interview. So we'll talk about that closing interview later. So how do you study? You study using NEBOSH study materials, study element 1 to 10 to 4, study your tutor notes. Your NEBOSH tutor must have taught you, must have given you notes, given you assignment. You have to study them. Make sure you thoroughly understand the topics so that you can apply your knowledge, because this open book exam is going to come in form of scenario. Like you may have written assignments during your classes. It's going to be coming in form of scenario, describing a workplace, describing your position in the workplace, describing what is going on there, and describing the activities, the number of workers there. So that is a scenario. It might look very unfamiliar to you, especially if you have not worked in sites before. So those scenarios might look unfamiliar to you, but having the knowledge or having the basic knowledge will help you to be able to understand those unfamiliar scenarios. Then familiarize yourself with terminologies used in study materials and used in health and safety. This is very, very important. I cannot overemphasize on this. The terminologies used in health and safety is different from ordinary English terminologies. Okay, it doesn't mean that the English words would change or it's not correct, but health and safety has specific terms for specific things. So you should focus on using those terminologies. Okay, then review your previous open book questions and answers. There are previous questions that your tutor must have shared with you. You need to review them because most of the times there could be repetition of questions. Some questions could be repeated. Okay, maybe they have asked before, what are the importance of conducting health and safety inspection? You look through your textbooks, look through your books, read them again and again. Questions do repeat. They do repeat questions sometimes, but do not restrict yourself only on the past questions. There could be repetition of questions, but it's not just that you focus only on questions. You need to familiarize yourself with the textbooks, the content of the textbook. You need to be familiar with whatever is there. Okay, then prioritize some of the questions that might be repeated. All right, then ergonomically designed and friendly work environment or workstation. Remember, you will be writing this exam for approximately 24 hours. So you need to ensure that your environment is ergonomically friendly. The seat you'll be sitting, the table you'll be sitting on, ensure that it's friendly. Okay, so you need to put all these things in place. Your notebooks, all the resources that you'll be needing, your workstations should be comfortable. Okay, you should ensure that you have good internet because this is open book, right? Open book means you are allowed to consult materials, you are allowed to research, you are allowed to check the internet, but you are not allowed to copy them. You are not allowed to copy and paste. You are not allowed to push the materials you've gotten from the internet or from sources into the answer sheet. So you can consult them, you can refresh your mind while writing the exam. That is the beauty of open book examination, but it doesn't give you the room to also pragmatize. Okay, now you need to ensure that you have good internet connection because after writing the exam, you have to submit it. So when you are ready to submit the exam and your internet is messing up, what are you going to do? So you have to ensure that you have good internet available. Remove every source of distractions. For instance, televisions, social media, anything that will be distracting you within that specified time for your examination, you need to remove them. Ensure that you keep them by the side. Ensure you are in a well-ventilated and lit area so that you will not feel drowsy, you will not fall into illness during the examination period. Okay, then you can arrange for snacks, arrange for your breaks. Frequent break is also advised. Don't sit for a very long time. Sitting 1 hour, 2 hours throughout without taking a break, it can also affect your performance. So frequently you can take breaks, maybe after 20 minutes or 30 minutes intervals, walk around, stretch your legs, come back and continue your work. So one of the things that is recommended is for you to print out the scenario. Why? Why do you have to do this? Because you need to get familiar with that scenario. Okay? So it's recommended that you read the scenario 3 to 4 times. Why do you need to do this? Because most of the questions, most of the answers you expected to give will be related to the scenario. The questions will say most times according to the scenario or strictly according to the scenario. So if you have not read and understood the scenario, you will not be getting it accurately. You might be saying things that are not related to that scenario and you are not likely to get a point there. So it's recommended that you read the scenario 3 to 4 times, get familiar with it. Okay, then familiarize yourself with the terminologies used in that scenario. If the scenario is talking about a construction site, then you should be strictly using terminologies in construction site. If the scenario is talking about a garage or workshop, you should be using those terminologies related to those places. For example, if in the scenario it says that the garage is controlled by a manager, continue using that terminology. Don't bring in director or bring in any other position or any other thing that you feel that is maybe similar, or you think that this is a synonym, then that it can work. No, use the terminologies that are specifically used in that scenario. If it says director, continue using director. If it says PM, project manager, continue using that term or the terminology used in that scenario. Do not bring in your own terminologies. Okay, then write your answers in the provided answer sheet. You can decide to start with the easier questions. So you are not mandated to start from number 1 up to number 10 or number 9. So you can pick any of the questions that you think you are more familiar with. Okay, so continue with the questions as you feel you can answer, so that you'll be able to ensure that you utilize your time on the questions where you have strength. Okay, it's advisable to present your answers in bullet points. The reason why we advise you to present your answers in bullet point is there are particular marks, a particular mark allocated to a particular question. So the examiner will be searching for points from his marking scheme. So it's easier for him to locate those points or those awardable points that can be awarded marks in your bullet points. So it's easier for him to locate them and give you the mark. But if you have written in sentence, very long sentence, you put everything together, he might miss some of the points, thereby you missing your marks. So it's advisable you arrange your answer in bullet points, okay? Or you can arrange them in paragraphs. But remember, for you to have the entire mark allocated to that question, you should give a point that is equal to that mark allocated to the question. If the question have said that this question is 10 marks, then you are required to give 10 valid points. The examiner will be looking at those points and be awarding you your marks. So if you write only 9 points, you cannot get 10 marks. There's no way he can manufacture the marks. So it's advisable also to write more than the number of points or marks allocated to that question. If that question is allocated 10 marks, it's advisable that you provide like 12 to 13 valid points, so that the examiner will choose the 10 valid points and give you your mark. Okay, then we advise that you spend at least or a maximum of 1 hour for a 10 marks question. Word count. The entire word that you are required to write is 3,000 words. Okay, so if you write more than 3,000 words, you have like a tolerance of 10%. Okay, but this is not the yardstick. It doesn't mean that because you have written 3,000 words, it means that you are automatically going to pass. So in some situations, you can even write more and there is no valid point in all the things you have written. So ensure that whatever you are writing valid points. So maximum of 3,000 words is expected of you, but there is some allowance, 10% or within that range. Okay, so ensure that you keep your font style in a way that it can be easily be read. Don't start using stylish font styles. This is it's not a design work. It's not a design presentation. So use the font styles that are readable, like Arial, Times New Roman. This basic font styles is okay. No decoration, no coloring. Those things are not important. Okay. Then one of the important things that you should note is health and safety, or occupational health and safety, have its own terminologies. And if you use the AI tools or the artificial intelligence tools like ChatGPT, they will be giving you the answers in the plain English, which is very far away from health and safety terminologies, and you might end up not getting any point. Let me give you an instance. You might want to write hazard. Health and safety professionals, you know what is hazard. Hazard is anything right? Anything that can cause injury, that can cause accident, right? That is hazard. Now, if you go to ChatGPT or you go to AI tools, they might be giving you mishap, and you are writing them. The examiner doesn't know what is mishap. Not that he doesn't know English or he doesn't know what is a mishap in English, but health and safety knows what is hazard. And in his marking scheme has told him to give you mark on hazard. And he has looked for hazard, he didn't see hazard. Okay, so that is one example that I want to drop. There are so many of them. So stick to health and safety terminologies. If you use if you use plain English or you copy like that from AI, then you might be missing the point. You might be saying something else, whereas you mean something else. And the examiner is not in your mind, so he cannot be able to ascertain what you mean or what you are trying to write. So he only looks at his marking scheme, and what you have written is not in his marking scheme, then he will skip and move on. So use health and safety terminologies only. Okay? Do not paraphrase. Do not paraphrase. For instance, what you see in the scenario, if the question says, give your answer based on scenario only, there is no need for you to paraphrase, changing the words in that scenario, bringing different words to represent what is already written in the scenario. For example, in the scenario, it says the health and safety manager, and you paraphrased it, you said health and safety director. It's not the same. Even though that you might think that you are writing the same thing or that you should understand, no. Write what is written in the scenario and move on. They want you to be able to point out the accurate answers from the scenario, where it says, give your answer based on the scenario only. Don't stress yourself looking for English, looking for different words to paraphrase, to change, to write synonyms. No, it's not important at this point. Okay, then do not copy from any textbook, any internet, any internet resources. Do not copy, or even past questions or past submitted answers. Maybe your friend wrote the exam last month or last 2 months, and you find out that that question was repeated, and you copied it and paste in your answer sheet. Do not copy. Why? Because NEBOSH has a very strong tool for identifying similarities. It's called a Triniton. Before you submit your answer, you are going to acknowledge that the answer you are submitting is your personal work. So if they check similarities using that tool and they find similarities of questions that has been submitted in the past, that Triniton similarity checking tools checks NEBOSH websites, it checks all the health and safety websites, it checks all the past questions, it checks everything that has been submitted to NEBOSH before. So it will check it, and if it finds similarities in any of them, then it's assumed that you copied, and you might be facing some disciplinary actions. It could be banned for 2 years, could be banned for 3 years, it could be repeat, your result might be seized. So do not copy from any internet resources. You are allowed to research, read, get the answers, write it in your own words. Okay, but do not copy from any internet source. So if you are giving your answers, even if the question did not say based on scenario only, if you are giving your answers from your knowledge, from your personal knowledge, always reference it to the scenario. Always say, according to the scenario, in so part of the scenario, this so-so person did so-so thing. Just reference it. After giving your answer, you can give reference as in trying to align it with what the scenario have said. Okay, so ensure that you are properly connected. Don't get emergencies. Keep saving your work as you continue working. As you continue typing, ensure you are saving so that you will not fall into a situation whereby you can't find your work. Maybe your laptop suddenly shuts down, or maybe you are using desktop, the power supply suddenly goes off and you cannot find your work. So as you work, ensure you are saving them so that you know where it is and where you will continue if you had any emergency. Okay, so closing interview. I said I'm going to talk about closing interview at the end. After you have submitted your answers to NEBOSH website, after you have completed your answers, you're expected to save your answers or save the answer sheet in PDF format. How do you do that? You simply click on File, click on Save As, then select PDF. You put in your name, your first name and your surname with your learner number. Every NEBOSH candidate has a learner number. So you write your name, your first name, your surname, and your learner number as the file name. Then you save it as PDF. Once you have done that, then you are ready to go. You go over to the NEBOSH website, enter your username and your password, go to where you are asked to upload it. Then it's gone. After it has gone, the next thing that is required of you is to attend the closing interview. Your training center or the NEBOSH learning partner will arrange a closing interview for you. The aim of the closing interview is to verify your identity, to ensure that you are the one that wrote the exam, and you will be asked questions based on the answers you submitted. Closing interview is not usually graded, meaning that whatever you have written during the exam is what will pass you. You are not going to get extra mark based on your performance in the closing interview. But if you perform poorly, if what you have written cannot be matched with your performance in the closing interview, the tutor or the person interviewing you has the right to report you to NEBOSH for further investigation. Okay, so do not say that because closing interview is not graded, then you will not do well, or you will not be able to defend what you have written. If you are not able to defend what you have written, then you might be called for further investigation. What do I mean by that? For instance, you wrote very long or very good English, and during the closing interview, they ask you, you cannot be able to defend those things. You can't be able to even say what you have written. Then it calls for further investigation. So you ensure that you prepare yourself for closing interview as well. Now, in the closing interview, the questions will not be coming from anything different from that questions you passed through in the open book examination. So whatever was asked in the open book examination is what you'll be seeing in the closing interview. So just prepare yourself, read the scenario again, read the answers you submitted, and know the reasons for each of the answers. For instance, if they ask you what are the considerations for first aid in that workplace, or for improvement in the first aid in the workplace, and maybe one of the things you wrote is that you should consider the type of activities going on. So you should be able to explain further. That is one of the type of question that the interviewer will ask you. You should be able to explain further what you mean by that, or why is this important, or why is this relevant. So if you cannot explain that. If you cannot give some backups to those answers you have provided, then the examiner might suspect that you did not write the exam yourself. So you should ensure that you prepare yourself. In the closing interview, you have to stay in a secluded area, an area where you cannot be interrupted. There will be nobody around. Nobody will be giving you answers. Nobody will be disturbing you. So those type of areas is where you're expected to be during the closing interview. Okay. Then they will verify your identity. You might be asked to provide your passport or ID. So any form of identity that the examiner will ask of you to prove that that ID matches the name on the answer sheet. Okay, so that is it for closing interview. And one of the things you need to know is that towards the end of that exam, open book examination, there will be rush. People will be rushing to submit and the website might crash or the website might get slow. So it's advised that you try to finish on time, try to submit on time before the end or when it's very near to the end of that exam. Okay, so I still have more things to say, but this is our interactive workshop, which I will give room for other professionals to add their voice. Then I will also come again to add some of my experience. All right, so the floor will be open now for other contributors. All right, yeah, Mr. Andy.
Yeah. Good evening, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, wherever you may be listening from. Thank you so much, Mr. Johnson, for the wonderful presentation. Yeah, I will speak from the angle of NEBOSH candidates. We are all students of NEBOSH, and this great platform has been of help for continuous learning and continuous personal development for me, and I believe it's for applies to so many others that are listening also. You have done justice to the topic, the strategies to passing this NEBOSH Open Book Examination. With every NEBOSH examination, what I have picked from this presentation is you have to follow instructions. You have to follow instructions, NEBOSH instructions, the guidance, the syllabus, and what the questions require you to present. So strategy is very important. That's boiled down to planning your goals, your strategy, and how you want to pass the exam. Because from experience, it's really painful when after putting so much money, so much time, and for one reason or the other, you don't pass the exam, then you have to re-enroll again. That happened to so many of us, even myself. It's not a good experience for anyone. So this is an opportunity, especially for those of us who will be attending to write exam very soon. NEBOSH exam, whether the open book or classroom, it is very great opportunity for anyone to learn one or two things. So Mr. Johnson has really dealt with the topic extensively, giving us all the clues that we need. For the OBE, with the experience I have had before in writing a NEBOSH exam, like the one I did, I was monitored. You prepare, then the day of the exam, you'll be monitored through the system. Somebody is watching you. You don't have to open the paper. When you try to bend your neck, then they will call you their attention. Of course, they can stop the exam. But with the OBE, you have the liberty, the time to do your research and to understand the question very well. Just as Mr. Joseph pointed out, you have to read the question and understand the question. Sometimes we rush to just write the answers when we read the question, we believing that that is what we are writing the writing. Meanwhile, we are deviating. Use of language is very important. Every subject have their language. Every profession have their language. Like the health and safety have its syntax, its own language. You have to use those terminology. Avoid jargons. Avoid trying to bring your big grammar or try to write your English that you think is more perfect. You have to stick to the terminology, just as Mr. Justin has stated, and you have to be specific, especially when it comes to scenario-based questions. You have to understand the scenario and answer accordingly. For instance, many people make the mistake of trying to interpret something different from the scenario, and that is where failure starts. We all have our basic education when it comes to scenario-based questions. We should apply the idea of summary comprehension. Like we are reading essay, you have to interpret it according to what the question, like you are reading the novel, you have to summarize it. You have to bring out the main character, just as Mr. Joseph pointed out. For instance, he's saying talking about safety manager, and you are interpreting it to be the CEO. No, you should stick to the specific character they are talking about, and you should be specific to what that particular question is talking about. Maybe they are talking about health and safety objectives, or they are talking about health and safety improvement. You should stick to the health and safety improvement or objective. So these are main key to passing the exam. You should be able to look at the scenario again while you are writing if you are in line. So it's always good that you focus. Maybe you read the scenario and you're answering the question. You can just go back again and see what the question is saying again, just to refresh your mind, because it's very easy for us to deviate when we are flowing with the answer or thinking we are on the right track. So always make reference to the question, come back to answer. You have the time to yourself, and don't think the time is infinite, because when you think you have 24 hours and you take an approach that oh, I have 24 hours, let me sleep for 5 hours, before you know, time is going. So when you're focusing, you set your time. Maybe you want to spend 6-7 hours on the written exam, you should be focused. So I want to say that before your exam, have enough sleep, enough rest, and have a relaxed mind. And you should try as much as possible to avoid copying. You just go to the internet, you just copy and paste. It's not going to help, because you need to focus on what the question is asking and follow that path. With that, I believe you have great score. So that is it from my side. Thank you. Over to you, Mr. Johnson.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Andrew. Thank you for your wonderful contribution. So,
yes, Mr. Johnson, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Yeah,
this is Omoja. Yes, I really want to appreciate you for your detailed breakdown, exposition of the topic under discussion. Yes, my experience has been a wonderful one. Yes, when I did my NEBOSH, it was still the written, not open book, the written. And so I would say NEBOSH is quite technical an exam, and it's really very easy for those people that are already working in the field to pass a NEBOSH exam, because that means you have a practical understanding of what safety is. NEBOSH as an exam is not so much of theoretical, it's practical. So, and that really helped me a great deal. And when I even did my exam, to God be the glory, I did not even take classes. I just studied them. But for the fact that I was already practicing as a safety officer, professional, it helped me a great deal. So, and I was able to scale through. Now, on this OBE you are just talking about, initially when I heard of OBE, I felt it's an exam, say open book. It's an exam that anybody can just pass, go and pass. I never knew that it's as this. I felt you could just at least you could just open your book,
I think your internet is breaking.
Type about you see Facebook and I never knew that it's more technical than that. As a matter of fact, convenient exam. Everybody, we don't have to gather at the particular spot and do the exam. You can conveniently. So, you can hear me? Can you hear me? Hello, Mr. Johnson.
Yeah, you're audible now. You were breaking before, but you're okay now. Go ahead. I think your network was breaking. Or maybe you had a phone call that was interfering with the Zoom.
Okay, like I was saying, I'm sorry before I was yanked up by the network. Open book exam is a welcome thing, and it's a more convenient exam for people that who want to write the exam. And so, and apart from that fact, like I was saying, it's something that you need to have a practical knowledge of safety. Like you were talking about, they give you a scenario question to that's what really makes it difficult for someone to just come with a theory or whatever he has saw in the textbook and used to answer the question. It's not possible with that. So I really appreciate NEBOSH for this new OBE open book. You can open your book, but at the end of it, you open your book doesn't give you a license to say yes, I can beat my chest. I'll pass the exam. So it's really a nice topic of discussion. Thank you very much for the topic of discussion and your exposition of every area concerning OBE. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
All right. Thank you very much, Omajede. Thank you for your contribution. Just like you said, open book examination requires some technical knowledge. It's not just the theory that you read. When they are exposed to that scenario, that is where your technical skills or your technical knowledge comes into play. If you've not been into a construction site before and the OBE is talking about you assuming that you're a construction site safety officer, you see that there will be a lot of discrepancies there. So gathering some practical experience before attempting the exam is very important. But if you have already registered and you don't even have a practical experience yet, do not be afraid. Embrace it and give it all your time. Do not rush it, and do not delay it. Just like Mr. Andrew said, don't think that 24 hours is too much for you to write the exam. There is a lot that you need to research on. There is a lot that you need to cover. So you need to start it as soon as the exam questions drops, and give it your time. Start from the ones you think you know very well, and as you progress to the ones that looks difficult to you, so that you'll be able to gather marks as you progress. What you are required to pass the exam is 45%. That's 45 marks over 100. So if you're able to, if the question is 10 questions and you're able to scale through more than half of the questions, if you're able to score half in all the questions, then obviously you are going to pass. So, but aim at the highest. Do not just aim at half. Aim at scoring the entire marks allocated to each question. Because if you aim at half, then you might end up not getting the required marks to pass. All right. So if someone else wants to contribute, I'll leave the room open.
Hello.
Yes, we are with you, Andrew.
Okay. Just to add one or two things for those who are who don't have practical experience. There's nothing to worry about. The practical experience will also give you some leverage in having higher scores based on experience and all that. But first time, everything boiled down to how prepared you are and planning. Some people who have practical experience, they have this issue of complacency. I know it all. I've been practicing for a long time. I can, anything about any question that comes in, I will pass it. So I have seen it, I've experienced it with people and sometimes with myself with so much confidence, believing too much in yourself without things changes. Most times when the examiner will set the exam is sometimes trying to test your critical reasoning, trying to test your psychological or intuitive knowledge and whatever. So, but if you base only on practicality, the question or maybe the scenario may not be relating to your practical experience, but it may be relying on your ability to critically think and make informed judgment. So what in this case is only when you read extensively, maybe you cover the whole syllabus. You cover the whole syllabus and you are well grounded in all the topics in the syllabus. So when the question is set and you've been prepared, because when just Mr. Justin already have said that when you fail to prepare, then you planning to fail. I mean, how should I put it now? So if you read extensively, you cover the syllabus and you follow the instruction, believe me, even if you don't have that practical experience as a first timer in health and safety, there's possibility that you even be scoring higher more than somebody who already have maybe 5 years experience in practicing health and safety in the field. So it's always important that we prepare, follow instructions, because one thing I've understood about writing exam. I've written a lot of examinations with NEBOSH. What thing I've come to understand is that if you miss the instruction, no matter what you write, you may fail. So instruction is very important regarding the syllabus, regarding whatever the instruction may be as the examination paper that is set before you, or it may be just simple instruction that maybe when you are writing the exam, do not copy from any AI and you copy. You copy, the answer is correct, but the terminology may be different. So that has jeopardized your effort. So when the instruction says use your judgment based on the scenario, please use your judgment based on the scenario alone. If you try to bring some foreign materials to buttress or to make it look beautiful, that's not going to give you a pass mark. So I think that is that for me, from my side. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Andrew. Thank you for that wonderful expository. So I think much has been said about this examination. Just preparation is key. Prepare and prepare, and give yourself adequate concentration on the exam. Then you will pass. You will definitely pass. We've gone past 7, and we'll be rounding off. Do we have any further contribution before we call it a day? Or any question? Any question or anything you need clarification on? Go ahead and ask.
Yeah, I actually have a question, but I think you've already answered the question. Yeah, my question before was like, you've answered the question though, regarding the closing interview. Because some people, right, I was thinking that the closing interview can give you some additional mark, or even if you did not do well in the closing interview and you did well in your written, it's not going to have any implication, but you have already answered it, that if you perform poorly in the closing interview, it means it does not justify your written paper which you have submitted. So it's always good to sometimes it may be possible that I write the exam, but I did not take note of the points before the closing interview. So it's important that after I submit my exam, I should keep a record and take some highlights of the question, maybe out of 6 or 7, 8 questions. I should be able to memorize few topics, which in case I am asked about those particular topic, I should be able to defend it. Maybe, for example, talk about health and safety management. I should be able to talk about health and safety management in line with what I have written. Or maybe they're talking about any of the topic in health and safety that is related to the exam which I have submitted. So I think it's very important to note that. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Andrew, for re-emphasizing that. It's very, very important. Your energy in the closing interview should match the energy in your written exam. If your written exam is more wonderful than what you're able to talk about in the closing interview, it calls for further investigation. So you should be able to have that at the back of your mind. And do not expect that you are going to get additional mark, or you say you will just write anyhow in the written exam. In the closing interview, you will perform better and you will get more mark. No, the mark you will get is what you have written in your written exam. All right, thank you very much. Any other question before we call it a day?
Good evening, everybody. Good evening, sir. Thank you so much for this section.
Good evening.
Yeah. Liz, you talked about downloading the question. How do we, downloading the question. You talk about, I think, printing it out so that you can go over the question again and again. For like someone who has just a PC and you don't have a printer, how do we do that, sir?
You remember the exam is not for 1 minute and the exam is not invigilated. So you have 24 hours. You can decide to download it in your phone. You can even decide to go to a business center and print it out. It's just a recommendation. It's not what NEBOSH have said, right? It's just a recommendation because some people cannot sit in front of the computer for a very long time. Some people can't read on the screen for a long time. So if you are able to print it, so you can be able to read this, like I recommended that you should read the scenario 3 to 4 times, right? And the scenario is very long. So for you to read it up to 3 to 4 times, it means you are sitting in front of the computer for a long time. Okay, so printing it out is a strategy that I recommend myself, that it will help you to understand it very well, reduce strain on your eyes by looking on the screen while reading the scenario for a long time. So it will just help you. You can be able to go to a business center, print it out, and read it. NEBOSH did not say you should not print it out. Okay, so it's just my own recommendation to help reduce your exposure to light or to the screen, and also give you time to be able to read, assimilate, understand, highlight. You can have highlighter, you can have a pen. You highlight where this question is talking about in this scenario. You can be able to highlight it, underline it, and when you now go to your Microsoft Word, your answer sheet to type it, or to answer the question, you know exactly where to look for it, right? So that will can give you some leverages and can fasten your speed in answering the questions. It's just a personal recommendation. Is that okay?
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
Another question. You talk about downloading it in the answer in PDF before you submit. I have done before, but I never knew they download it on PDF. I just finished and I submitted. And something happened the last time I wrote. I just pressed something and the whole thing, the whole answer, I think about 1 hour before the time, all my answer left. I couldn't trace the answer, the answers I wrote. That was my experience in the last one.
That is unfortunate. You should be keeping track of that is why I said save whatever you are doing every 5 minutes or every 2 minutes, whatever you have written, you save it. How do you save it? Just press Ctrl S. It will save. Just know the location where you saved it. It's inside the download folder or on the desktop or in the My Documents folder, wherever you've saved it. Just press Ctrl S as you are writing, so that you're sure that everything you have done is saving, so that you will not miss any of them. And saving to PDF is required, okay? You convert that your Word file to PDF, very easy. You just click on File menu on top on the left-hand side. You will see Save As. You click Save As. Then in the dialog box that will appear, you will select Format. Under the format, you select PDF. You put your name, your learner number, and click Save. It will save as PDF on your folder. So when you're uploading, you upload the PDF version of the file you wrote.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
You're welcome. Okay, I think there is no further question. So it's a pleasure. We thank all of you for joining us today. And I wish you success in your next exam, and ensure that you register on time and have time to prepare. Don't just register 1 or 2 weeks or to the exam. Register on time. Give yourself like 1 month. You have enough time to prepare before the exam. Okay, guys. Thank you for joining and have a nice day. Next week, we'll have another workshop every Thursday, 6 p.m. We do meet virtually to discuss any topic of choosing for the week.
Thank you, sir. Sir,
All
you
right.
said something at the beginning that this section will be recorded so that one can have access for a review. So how do we get it?
I do send link to it, but I have a YouTube channel, Safeoclock, and I also have a WhatsApp where I can send it to. Just this is my number.
Okay, sir.
So you can chat me so that I'll be able to keep you updated. Even in I can also keep you updated in our next workshop and other things we'll be doing.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Please.
You've seen my number in the chat box, right?
Yes, sir.
All right.
Hello, please. I want to appeal to every one of us to at least tell our friends about this Safeoclock, so they can always go to the YouTube channel and even Facebook to have a review of these topics for upcoming professionals and even old professionals. It's a learning hub where we can learn new things. So let's keep this in mind and invite more people. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Ms. Sandro, for that reminder. It always escapes my mind. So let's keep the flag flying as we give back to the society. It's a free give back 1 hour for us every week. So I know people are learning from it. People are improving. People are also improving in their presentation skills. So we also give room for anybody that has a topic that he wants to present to us as well. So it's not just me and Andrew and others talking. So this is a platform also where you can develop your presentation skills, your training. As a health and safety professionals, you can't run away from training. Induction, toolbox talks, training, you can't run away from it. So on this platform, you also have the room to improve yourself, get some guides, and that is one of the things we do here as well. So thank you guys for joining. Thank you, Mr. Jackson. I guess you are very busy today. Thank you, Kingsley, Mr. Jude, Mr. J. Sims. So thank you all for joining. And
yeah, thank you so much, Johnson.
Thank
Please,
you.
my apology that I wasn't able to come on air for contribution when contribution was ongoing.
Yeah, no problem.
But thank you for the beautiful presentation. Personally, I benefited a lot from it. Quite a lot of difference from years ago when I wrote my own NEBOSH exams. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Yeah.
All right, guys. See you next week.
All right.